Jaga Jazz.
Jump in here, so I don't take too much of your time. And I just want to ask you about the new album, When We Leave for ECM. I listened to it so many times now, and it's, man, again, you achieved this lyrical sparseness, no egoless music playing, and which for me, it's always a problem when I go on stage and I'm like, so many times I overdo it, you know. When I compose, it's easy, but when live playing, it's like, ah. And I wanted to ask you first this, how did you achieve in this last album, even throughout your career, this no ego in your playing? Like, it serves the music, you know. It's kind of like Bill Frisell when I listen to you on trumpet, if you know what I mean. It's like, it serves the music.
Yeah, it's you're kind of one of the first to mention like the no ego idea, because I haven't thought about it like that, but I listen a lot to Bill Frisell. He was for many years my biggest hero. So I tried to be like the trumpet version of Bill Frisell in a way. But that's many years ago when I was like studying music, and I even had a band called Strange Meeting.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I tried to kind of combine that with the Miles Davis idea of just taking breaks, you know, let the music speak for itself. And over the years and throughout all the concerts we've done, we're constantly talking about it in the band as well, because we call it like getting engaged, and it's okay if someone in the band gets engaged, and then maybe one or two other guys as well. But if the whole band is over engaged, kind of it goes into anti energy.
Yeah.
And it's really challenging to get the whole band to drive this common energy in the same direction. So we've been kind of, it's not easy to talk about, but the thing is that if you're getting really engaged by yourself, just be conscious what's going on, and also start listening more to the others, because if you're over engaged and someone else is, it just implodes. And at least that's my experience. And so again, it's not easy to talk about, but we've been trying to have this kind of conscious idea about it in the band, and also in the improvisations, just to be aware. The moment you get engaged, be aware, because it's easy that it's something else going on in your mind that's going on in reality. I think Bill Frisell is complete master of that, because he's such a humble player, and also being humble, like also in the solos and also in the phrasing and with your fellow musicians. And I saw him with the trio with Thomas Morgan, now with Thomas Morgan, is it? The bass player?
Joey Barron, probably, right?
Yeah, I saw them a couple of years ago, and it was just perfection. I mean, in that sense, because they're just all listening to each other all the time. So that's my goal in a way, to have a band, or also compose music that makes people wanna just play with humbleness in some kind of way.
Yeah, is that also how you compose? Because you know, when I listen to the last records, it's, you know, like Begging on the last one. It's one of the most beautiful melodies, man, I've heard for a long time. It's like, you know, you put it on, and it's like, man, it's like,
it's so simple.
Yeah, it's so simple. It's like,
yeah.
But what's your approach when writing? For this last album, or in general?
Yeah, no, I try to have kind of a narrative that an emotional narrative for each album. And for this album, I first I just started writing, and then it's easier if you kind of open an emotional door. And to me this time it was gradually I got into the idea of farewells, like saying goodbye, and
Yeah.
there's something there, you know, because I hate saying goodbye to my family or my kids, and I hate, and it's really hard, and it's getting harder, and then I remember when I was a kid myself, and I could like see a tear in the eye of my mother when me and my father we went on a week's holiday together, just the two of us, and I had to be like a grown up to understand what that tear in the eye actually meant, you know. That saying goodbye also is of course it's so many ways of saying goodbye as well. It's if someone is leaving for hospital and they're really ill and maybe not survive, and all those, and suddenly this whole room of possibilities opened up, and then all the titles kind of was easier to find, and begging was also a song I wrote about actually kind of saying goodbye to your future, because the daughter of one of my friends, she just started crying a couple of days into the first lockdown in March last year in 2020, because she was 17 years old and just started hanging out, you know, playing in a band. She plays the bass, and she wanted to live a life on her own, and suddenly she was forced to stay home, you know. so she just broke down in tears with her father, and just said that it's my future, it's my life this is about. And it's stopping right now. It's stopping. I can't do what I'm supposed to do. This is directly stopping me, you know.
Yeah.
And so then I wrote this song about. Actually, I made lyrics to it as well, but it's it's just for inspiration for me, I guess.
Yeah.
But so yeah, but I mean, in the writing, I always try to just. I'm not a professional composer, so I just get in the studio in the morning, and I try every day just to work my emotions and just squeeze something out of it, and then build something out of the little things I have, and then I trust like my musicians to develop it even more and make it magic in a way.
Yeah. How much do you work? Like, how much do you work as a band together? Because this group has been together now for quite a long time. I mean, you added Stian, okay, on pedal steel for, but
that's just for the albums, and then we continued like a quintet.
Oh, okay. But
so
how does this help you, like when composing? Also, when do you guys like work on a sketch or tune of yours really a lot together, or just do you have like a idea already in mind? Like, okay, we go there.
You know what? I should do it more like that. I think I learned this at last album now, that I should have cleaner, just like smaller sketches, and just give it to the band and trust the band even more. Because I mean, I'm working in Logic in the computer, and it has just gotten better and better every year, you know.
Yeah.
And so the problem now is that, I mean, I play the bass, piano, trumpet, guitar, and the drum programming in Logic now, it's just amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So I made like the demos I made now, they sounded like recording material, and that was not supposed to be like that. It was just that I had so much fun like making it. And then when I gave it to the band, I just discovered this time that actually the drummer, he started playing exactly the patterns I'd made in Logic. And then I had to tell him, man, this is just the direction. Yeah, but it sounds good. He said, you know, I want to play. So I think it's on Arvo, the song called Arvo. That's just exactly the pattern I made in.
Oh wow.
In
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Sorry, but I mean it's just like the sound I wanted, but he just he liked that pattern really good, so we ended up using that.
Yeah.
But usually I make the demos too good, really, and but I'm saying all the time, please just be yourself, and I've written this music for you, and then of course I don't play the violin, so Hakon is just like flying away.
Yeah. That's
and I always ask Audun, the bass player, to not play the bass note, just play the melody notes. Be free, and also to Andreas, the piano player, do whatever you want. So it always sounds like a minimum 1,000% better.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, definitely. How does Manfred Eicher help? How is his role? You know, I've spoken to so many musicians who've done records, are doing it still for ECM, and they all say Manfred has such a huge, important role as, like, you know, almost as a band member in producing these records. How is your experience working with him, and especially, let's say, with the last album or even with the previous ones?
You know, because of the pandemic, he couldn't come to Norway, and we couldn't go to other countries.
Yeah.
So I made the Door, my first album, and also Skala. I made myself and produced myself, and then Manfred has come in the post-production process.
Ah, okay.
And we've been doing mixing and also some editing together. And on Midwest and Ravensburg, we did it like the classical ECM way, where he is in the studio producing and stuff. Yeah. So, but it's not many ECM albums which are done that way. So that he's not present. He's usually present, like 99%. So I just decided that, or I'm lucky, I guess, that they trusted me to do all this on my own, and I said I just have to do it, you know, because we have a schedule. We release we try to release a new album every third year.
Yeah.
And it has to be in 2021. So I'm in Rainbow Studio, the regular studio, and then every day we sent files down to Munich, and he was like really heavy listening in the office in Munich.
Oh,
and then he had some ideas in the end of the day, and then we did another day, and but basically it worked really good, because I really enjoyed like using all the time in the studio, having a really like not being on a tight schedule that hard, you know. Usually when Manfred is there, you only got 2 days, at maximum 48 hours, and if one of the guys in the band have a bad day, then you have to do the whole album in 1 day, and then if something else happens, it's like it's a lot of things that have to land, you know.
Yeah, studio is heavy.
But I mean, most ECM albums are done in that way, so
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
excuse me?
No, I wanted to ask you, like, speaking of ECM, you mentioned Frizzell, but like, was the ECM heritage, you know, it's really strong. I mean, it's felt everywhere in the world. Was this also a big influence on you, like music-wise, like when you were a teenager, or?
Absolutely, it was my biggest dream, man, when I was a kid. I was listening to so much ECM music, Terje Rypdal, Pat Metheny, Keith Jarrett, Bill Frisell, Kenny Wheeler, Jan Garbarek, all this stuff all the time. And because I have an older brother, he's 15 years older than me, and he used to come home with all this contemporary music albums when I was a kid, because my father, he had music from the 40s and 50s and 60s, so I used to listen only to old jazz. But then my brother came in with this new music, and then I had this dream that within within the age of 23, I wanted to be on ACM. And because I found out that Bright Size Life with that Martini, then he was 23 when that was recorded. And I mean, Jacob Pastorius, he was 26, and they were so young, you know.
Yeah.
So so I didn't know how it was ever going to be possible, but suddenly, you know, things happened, and when I was 23 years old, I was in the studio with Jacob Young, the Norwegian guitar player.
Yeah, I love him. Yeah,
then I was together with Manfred, and he asked me out to join him for a coffee, and I was like pinching my arm and like, shit, this is fucking happening, man. And it was so strange.
Man. Okay. And then for Door, you just approached him, or he approached you? Like
No, I mean, I did this album with Jacob Young when I was 23. And then Manfred asked me if I wanted to make a solo album. And I said, yes, of course, that's my biggest dream. But then 1 year went, and I called and I'm like, yeah, we'll talk, you know, this will be okay. And then 1 more year, and then 1 more year. And I mean, almost 5 years I was waiting. And I was like, all the time, you know, every half year I was calling. And they were like, you just gotta, I don't know what it was, but maybe it was like some kind of maturing process. They wanted me to just like wait. And then in the end, I just used all my savings. I've been saving it and saving it. And I went to the studio and I did the album myself. But I did it in Rainbow Studio, and I had Jon Balke on piano, Audun on drums, Audun Erlien on bass. And I knew that all these musicians, they were musicians that Manfred liked, and we did it like an ECM production. And I produced the album, and then I sent it to Munich, and I said, I'm tired of waiting. Here's the album.
Oh wow!
And then a week after, Manfred actually called me, and I'll never forget this moment because I was in my father's place eating dinner. I saw this German number on the phone, and then he said, "Hello, it's Manfred." And then I was like, "Oh shit!" And then I could hear my music in the back because he was calling from the office, and he was playing my album in the office. And right at that moment, I kind of understood that, okay, this should be okay. And then they released it.
Wow.
But that was, I had this inner urge that, you know, I can't wait anymore. I've been waiting for 5 years. But then I was 28.
But still, come on. That's so rare that this happens, you know, that you sent him something and he actually does it, because especially for a debut, you know, it's like really rare.
No, that never happens.
Yeah, I think that's the first like check. But
yeah, that was
amazing. You mentioned Jacob Young. You know, he's such a beautiful guitar player. I mean, we did something together as well, and I love Sideways that you guys played. And you know, it has Jon Christensen on drums. You know, one of my biggest heroes. But how did this collaboration with Jacob happen? Actually, I mean, I know you did like Evening Falls, I think, before that, right? Also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason I was so young, and the reason all of this happened is actually because of Nils Petter Molvær, the Norwegian trumpet player. And because when I was 19 years old, I went to this school, and they had this exchange program that you could call any musician or teacher and ask them for 1 lesson.
Oh, wow.
And the school would pay for it. And then I was like, I think, yeah, of course, I want Nils Petter Molvær. So the school arranged everything, and then I met him, and I thought it was going to be like a conventional trumpet lesson, but I played like, I put in some Thomas Franco, and I played something like 1 minute, and then he said, "That's okay, man. Let's go and have a beer." So that's the only thing he wanted. That's the only thing he needed to hear. So after that 1 minute, and after one night of drinking and talking about music, he gave me so much work, man. So he was playing trumpet in Jacob Young's band at the time. But in 1997 he had this huge success with Khmer.
Yeah.
He was doing so much work. So this was 1999, 98, 99. And then he just wanted to do solo stuff. So I was like, I got his position in Jacob's band.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
And then John was playing drums, and then suddenly I was playing with the adults, the grown-ups. So then I was playing regularly in Jacob's band for many years.
Yeah.
And that was because of this Petri and because of this exchange program.
Oh, wow. so many
coincidences.
Lego things kind of went together. Yeah, it's like usually like that in jazz. I mean, it's always.
Yeah, but in life as well. I mean.
Yeah. It's all funny. But speaking of your, I just wanted to ask you if you're growing up like as a musician, let's say early 90s, and you know, you mentioned the Norwegian, I mean the ECM scene, but then we have like, you know, Norway's amazing with the free jazz scene also, like since the late 60s also. How did this influence your playing, or did it touch you? I mean, because I think you found your own voice and your own sound, composition wise and playing wise, but how did that other pole influence you, if it did?
Well, you know, I guess it influenced me a lot because I was studying music from 99 until 2001. And I also went to this other music school from 98 till 99. And we had this huge young free jazz scene in Norway.
Yeah.
With Paul Nilsen Love and Ingebrigt Åkerflaten and all this Håvard Vik, fantastic musicians. And I actually did a few gigs with them, and I checked out that scene, but it was something. I mean, maybe like my childhood has always been combined of classical music and jazz. And my father didn't listen much to free jazz, but I guess if he did, I would have been in a different place today. But I guess like the classical lyrical, like Edvard Grieg and Bach and Mozart and Wagner and all of these big composers, and that whole lyrical idea of combining fantastic harmonies with elegant melodic lines. And when I was playing the free jazz, there was something that was kind of missing inside of me, and that was at least when I was 20, 21, 22, I didn't find that kind of red line in the music that could connect to this parts of me in some kind of strange way. But I mean, it's absolutely influenced me. I mean, playing so much with John. I mean, we've been playing rubato for many years.
Yeah.
And also listening to Audun and Per Jørgensen on trumpet. This fantastic scene. But it was really popular in the 90s, and I mean, in the end of the 90s, it was kind of a little fading down. Not all kids wanted to play free jazz anymore.
Yeah.
And then it also faded a little bit for me, I guess. But it's absolutely influenced me. And on this last album, it's for the first time I have two songs in one album that are kind of floating freely, but we're combining it. I'm trying to combine it with this melodic lyrical line, but that the environment and the landscape is kind of floating. So I guess I'm absolutely influenced by it.
Yeah. It's like how important was in this development Jaga Jazzist also for you? And
I mean, it was super important because I mean, it just gave me everything I needed to know about work ethics, like work. We were playing all the time, and we never took any money out of the band. So we were just constantly super poor, but we were super happy because we were playing all the time, and we no other bands in Norway had so many gigs as Jaga Jazzist.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
I guess the other bands, they tried to survive as well, but we survived by eating food backstage and, and drinking beer, you know. But every time we got some money, we would put it back into the band, and then we could go new places. So I mean, when we started going to Asia and United States and Canada and touring, we always lost money, but we just did it because it was such a fantastic thing to do. And also a lot of these huge tours we had in Europe. But I mean, working in a band, just running a band, and also the professional level of it, like making the sheet music good, be prepared, have all of the logistics is on set. I mean, these guys, we were the same age, but when we met, I was also 19 years at that time.
Wow.
I was so impressed because they'd been playing in bands since they were 14.
Wow.
And I mean, the father of the Horntvedt family, I mean, Lars, Line, and Morten, he had like the first Xerox printer in the city because he was working in a computer company. So they had printed music like for every rehearsal.
Wow.
And he also gave the kids like Sibelius and Finale like composing tools.
Yeah.
So when I met this band, I got printed music on the first rehearsal with my name on it, and I was like, "Is this even possible, man? This can't be happening." I had never seen a sheet music with Mathias Eick's voice on it. I was like, "This isn't happening."
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So and I mean, these kids were 19, 20 years old.
Wow.
So it taught me a lot about like the level of professionalism you can have like in early stages, and also like the seriousness of playing a concert having a concert. I mean, like you shouldn't go on stage dressed like you're going to enjoy a night in the couch watching Netflix, you know. You should like dress up a little bit and think about the lights. The sound is really important, and the songs, the presentation, the whole thing. I mean, I don't know where they got it from, but I mean, they Jaga Jazzist, they grew up in Tønsberg, which is a city almost half an hour from the place I grew up, and I grew up in the countryside. And we had one school library, and there was no music in that library. So all the kids growing up in my kind of small village, the only music we knew about were the music that our parents had bought like on LPs and cassettes. And I mean, my father, he had, as I told you, music from the 40s, 50s, and maybe some from the 60s. And my friends, they had like parents with ABBA and some contemporary pop music. But one other father, he had some Jimi Hendrix albums and Black Sabbath and music from like rock music from the 60s and 70s. And we were just listening to those albums and we're like,
yeah.
But when I met Jaga Jazzist, they, in their city, they had a library with a huge music collection. So they checked out new music every week.
Wow.
And they just borrowed a lot of music from the library. And also, I mean, the parents there, they also had a lot of contemporary music and also a lot of ECM music. So I was so impressed by like meeting kids with like even higher cultural education in some kind of way. But that also, of course, depended on where they grew up. And so I'm constantly thinking about this when kids grow up, now that they have the whole world's library at their fingertips, you know, and that's just fantastic. It's you can grow up in the most far out place and even be able to check out fantastic music. That's just amazing.
It's incredible.
Because it's just incredible. I mean, to have a Spotify premium subscription or whatever you do, or you can just have Spotify regular and listen to the commercial. But I guess yeah, I would really have loved it when I was a kid.
I know what you mean. Yeah. For me, it was the same. You know, you bought one
Yeah.
CD maybe a week or a month, okay, and it was like, man, that's it. You know, or a friend bought, I don't know, the new younger Barak, and you were like, oh man, I need this, and you made a copy, and then you listened to it. Now it's just like, you know, like you said, it's like billions of tunes and albums available. Just like, nah, I don't like it. You know, it's became less
but
personal.
the interesting thing about that is how it's gonna color people's minds in a way, because the good thing about that, and I remember that moment myself when I'd been copying one album on a cassette, and I was listening over and over again. You learned everything, and I listened. Also, I got this Bill Frisell album, and I was listening so much to it, so I knew all the notes he was playing on that album.
Yeah,
you know, and I hope that the kids will have like that kind of kick, you know, to get so deep into the material that you and I did when we were kids.
Yeah, that's
hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. It's gone a little bit. The romantic, at least when I speak to my students or to kids, like this romantic moment for them at least seems to be gone, because, you know, just they listen to 2 minutes to something and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And for us, it was, you know, like this huge thing, like, wow,
a new world, you know, this world.
Yeah.
That's but hopefully they will have some other kinds of kick, you know.
Oh yeah.
And it's just changed in a way.
Yeah. It'll be like a virtual Mathias Eick playing in their living room, you know, because that's going to be the new presentation of a CD. You're like, oh man, there they are. That would be so cool, actually. Mathias, not to take too much of your time, I just wanted to ask you about also a couple of, you know, you've been really prolific as a band leader, but also as a sideman or as collaborator. You've done so much work, and I wanted to ask you about two projects that you did. First with Lars Danielsson. Such beautiful work you guys did together. And how did this story with Lars happen, and how was it like working with him?
You know, I'm not sure how we first started working, but I think he just contacted me because he had been listening to some stuff I've been doing with Jacob Young or anyone, and then he invited me to Sweden, and we did some recordings in his house, and then I was really surprised by also that he had this full Pro Tools rig in his basement, so he did like the whole album in his house.
Oh wow!
And so I thought we were going to this professional studio, but we were just going into his basement, and it sounds great, you know, because he has great microphones, and the walls are like dampened, and it's working fantastic. And then we went out and did some stuff with symphonic orchestra, and that was really special, you know, because he had been writing music for like symphonic orchestras, and then we went out and like standing there in concert halls with this orchestra and playing this wonderful music. It was super, and we had a really good connection. So absolutely a lot of fun working with Lars, and I think he's into the same direction as I've been going most of my adult life. Like he's kind of chasing a good lyric melody. He's chasing, and Dominic Miller, also from Sting's guitar player, he was in the studio, and I had been writing this one song called the Skala. It's from the album Skala, and it's really inspired by Shape of My Heart. And there I suddenly was with the guy who wrote Shape of My Heart. I was like, shit. So I had to, I had to play him the song, and then he said like, yeah, that's cool, and then I remember, and then someone told me afterwards that whatever you say to Dominic Miller, he's always like, that's cool, man. So so he would have said that if the song was completely the same, because he told me then that he and Sting, they'd been writing the song. They were like sitting listening to Tchaikovsky or some classical stuff, and they were just messing around with some chords from that classical piece, and then suddenly "Shape of My Heart" just bounced out of the guitar.
Mm.
That was, I mean, Sting's biggest modern hit ever.
Yeah.
And so that was a fun thing, like working with Lars, that I also got to meet these other guys, and we did some things together.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's like. But did you through Lars also meet Tigran, or because I saw there was some footage of you and Tigran duo in Holland, which I didn't expect this collaboration. I mean, kind of makes sense, but stylistically or a little bit.
Yeah.
But how did that
happen?
But
you know, I think also that was just I don't know, maybe Tigran discovered me through Lars or something, but we didn't work together with Lars, both of us at the same time.
Okay.
But Tigran just reached out and he wanted to do some stuff together. And then we did a concert in a concert hall in is it Yerevan? The main city in the capital. And we did the concert hall, and it was like sold out. And it was just Tigran. It was Tigran's night in the concert hall, and I was stunned by how popular he is in Armenia. And also like playing with him just felt so natural. So actually, the music in Ravensburg, my last album, is really inspired by Tigran. And if you listen to this song called I think it's Children, and also a couple of other songs that have some quite discoverable inspiration from Tigran, and then he asked me to come back, and then we played my music, which was inspired by him with him.
With him, yeah.
That was pretty funny. And so Tigran and I, we always wanted to do some more stuff together, and so he has some issues with the record company and stuff, but Manfred is like really positive, so we'll see in the future sometime.
Yeah, to make an album or.
Yeah, but he's I love Tigran. I follow him. He has some daily videos on Instagram right now, and it's so fun to follow his voyage. He's just an amazing piano player.
Yeah, he's really a composer also, like.
Yeah,
incredible
guy. He gets so deep into the material, and but I think after I started releasing albums on ACM, I meet so many people or people contact me from all around the world, and it's so fun. So this is just one of the guys I met, like through that network in a way.
Yeah, it's just this network is like one also interesting one for me is your work with Manu Katche. You mentioned Dominic Miller, and his thing. Manu Katche is like, okay, Peter Gabriel and everyone else, and like, how was it with him? Like this playground story.
It was
the same connection.
Yeah, that was actually Manfred Eick's idea, because the first album Manu did. I waited 5 years, but Manu, he waited, I think it was 19 years, because Manu and Manfred, they had a meeting in like 1991, where Manfred said we should make an album, and then it wasn't 19, but I think the first album was in 2007 or something.
Wow. Yeah.
And then Manfred's idea was to make a band for Manu, and that Manu was supposed to write some music. So then he put Jan Garbarek and Tomasz Stanko, and I think it was Marcin Wasilewski and Slavomir Kurkovic on bass, and then Manu. That was the first album. And then 2 or 3 years later, Garbarek, he was like, I don't usually do other people's albums, so that was the only one. And then Trygve Seim on saxophone and me, we were asked to join in. So then we did this album and recorded it in New York.
In New York.
I think that was 2008. Yeah, 2008 or around that time. 2007, maybe 2008. And so that was just like Manfred calling and say, jump on the plane and get to New York. And I was like, shit, Manu Katche, that's pretty stuff. I've been listening to him my whole childhood, with Peter Gabriel and Sting. And maybe we should have a rehearsal, before we go into the studio. And so he sent some demos and they sent some music, but then when we got to New York, we heard, we're gonna have a 2-hour rehearsal, and then we go to the studio. And I was like, oh wow, shit, we gotta rehearse like hell. And then after 40 minutes, Manu said, let's order pizza. I said, we don't have time for pizza, man, we gotta rehearse. They said, no, relax, it's all gonna be fine. It's just music, man. And I mean, these musicians, they are so amazingly good. So then, we just had this pizza and made this album, and it was okay, man.
That's a nice description, actually.
Yeah.
we ate some pizza, played some music, and that was the album. That was okay. Beautiful.
But Manu is cool. I was actually in France with him 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
And and we did another album for ECM with the German piano player. It's going to be out next year, I guess.
Oh wow!
And
super.
but I mean, it's I had like 2 childhood dreams. The one thing was being on ECM, and the other was actually playing with Sting. So
you're closing in. You're getting there.
Yeah. I haven't checked out the last one yet, but Manu is like, don't bother, don't think about that, man. It's, no, don't think about that, man. It's you're okay, man. You don't need that. So you're gonna get bored, man. So
yeah.
So I'm the latest 10, 15 years, I haven't bothered to think that much about that dream anymore. But
oh, come on, man. It's beautiful what you're doing the last 20 years of that, it's amazing. So super. Cool, Mathias. I will not take more of your time so that you can enjoy Copenhagen, and otherwise, thanks, hopefully man. See you on the road somewhere soon if you're
that would be really nice, man.
Jaga Jazz. Jaga Jazz.